So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we will be discussing about your 12th unit biological processes. Now this lesson I have divided into several parts. This video will focus on the first part of this lesson. So now let us all start off with the lesson. Our first subtopic will be organizational levels of life. So in today's video we will be discussing about all the relevant things under this topic that are there in your syllabus. So now before we get into all the technical terms and definitions, you all can see that here there are certain images like this right over here. These ones, what you can see here, are small building blocks. Now you all know that utilizing these building blocks, you can make huge structures, huge beautiful structures like this. So now, in the same manner, we find things similar to these building blocks in our day-to-day lives. For an example, when you look at a wall made out of bricks, we see that this huge wall is made up of several building blocks like things which act as building units in this scenario. Here, these building blocks are called building units, and these building units build this huge structure. A collection of these small bricks make a brick wall. A collection of these small hexagonal shaped units make a huge beehive. So now, in the same manner, we organisms are also comprised of such building units. So now, let us see what these building units are. So, you know that the cell is the structural and the functional unit of living organisms. So this cell is what acts as the building unit of all organizational levels of all living creatures. So this cell is at the simplest and at the first level of organization. And as you can see, it also acts as the structural and the functional unit of living organisms, as it constructs huge structures like our organs, tissues, and bodies and stuff. And it acts as a functional unit as each cell performs a unique function. Now, here you can see some of the common cells that are available in our body. You can see some red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and some gametes and some genetic materials and stuff like that. So now, while you have those, you can also see that animal cells are different from plant cells. And here are some of those cells. Now, I told you all about two types of cells, animal cells and plant cells. And I told you that they are somewhat different. Now then, what is an animal cell and what is a plant cell? Yes. So, a structural unit of a plant is referred to as a plant cell. And the structural unit of an animal is referred to as an animal cell. So, if a cell forms an animal structure, it's an animal cell. If a cell makes a plant structure, then it's a plant cell. Okay guys, hope you all understood it, because now we are going to do an interesting practical. Now, this is activity 12.1. Here we are going to observe the lower epidermis of a betel leaf and cheek cells, with the help of our teachers, of course. So now, to do this practical, you are going to need the lower epidermis of a betel leaf and of course some cheek cell samples. So now this is a very interesting activity which I'm sure you must do after everything has settled in school, because this is a beautiful activity and it's a very interesting one. So now, as they have not described on how to conduct this activity out, I will be putting some links into the description below so that y'all can watch some experiments similar to this and get an idea on how to conduct this experiment. So now then you will get a clear idea about this activity. Now, moving on, if you do this practical, you will be able to observe some fascinating things. Now, these are what you can see under a microscope. So now if you observed a low epidermis of a plant leaf, this is what you will see. If it was a stained human cheek cell, then this is what you will see. So it's a very fascinating practical. I hope you guys can do it at school when y'all are free and when y'all get a chance, that is. Also, I will be putting some links to other YouTube videos on how to do these practicals. Moving on. Now, I told you that cells make an organism. Earlier we told that building units, a collection of building units will make a huge structure. In the same manner, the cell is the building unit of organisms, and they build organisms, right? So now, even such, the types of organisms made out of these cells are of two categories. You get unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms are the organisms with only one cell. Amoeba, Euglena, Paramecium are examples for them. And the organisms made up of several cells are called multicellular organisms. Okay guys, so first we will be talking a bit about these unicellular organisms, then we will come to multicellular organisms later on. Now we are going to do a practical to identify unicellular organisms. So we are going to take a sample of water from a freshwater pond, and we are going to put some hay into a bottle filled with water, keep it for some weeks and stagnate it. And then we will take samples from each and observe each under a microscope. If you do this practical, you will be able to get observations like these. From a pond you will see something like this, and from haystack you will see something like this. Now, we are going to talk about the organizational levels in the living body. Now, as I had said earlier, we will be starting to get a somewhat also a bit of a clearer understanding about multicellular organisms. Now, as I had said earlier, multicellular organisms, they are the organisms made up of several cells. Okay, they are the organisms made up of several cells. They show variations in the levels of organization from the simple level of a cell to a complex level of an organism. Now, these levels of organization is what we are going to discuss about. The first level starts with a cell and it is the simplest level. The last one is organism and it is the most complex level. This is somewhat, you can say it's somewhat similar to a game. Even in our own body, we have levels. So, cell is level 1. Organism is the final level. It's something like that. Okay guys, so moving on. This is the basic structural, this is the basic organizational unit of the structure of an organism. So first you get a cell. A collection of cells form a tissue. Collection of tissues make an organ, and a collection of organs make a system. Collection of systems make an organism. So this is the basic organizational levels of an organism. Now, let's talk about the cell a bit more in a much more simple manner. Okay, guys. So now, what is a cell? Yes. So the cell is the basic structural and the functional unit of life. So a cell acts as a functional unit, whereas it performs various functions, and it also makes up structures. So it acts as a structural unit. Now, you get plant cells and other types of cells like red blood cells, nerve cells, liver cells, muscle cells, intestinal cells, stem cells. There are so many. So these things you all will be discussing in higher grades. That's why I have not focused much about, I have not given you all these complicated names and stuff. I have a bit blurred the image, that is the reason. So that you all no need to, get go deep, and you don't need to have a understanding of what is which and how. This is interesting to learn, but it's not necessary yet for y'all to learn for your syllabus. Okay, guys, so if you just remember this is what a plant cell looks like, that is sufficient for a grade student like you. But if you want to know more, I will be posting videos later on, so stay tuned if you want more. And y'all can comment to the section below. Y'all can leave a comment requesting for any other lessons you'd like, and if y'all have any questions, y'all can ask it in the comment section. Now then, we are moving on to the tissue. So I told you collection of cells make a tissue. So that is the basic understanding about what a tissue is. So now, a tissue is a group of cells organized for a specific function. Okay, these are key words. Group of cells, specific function. When you are to write a definition, make sure you include both these words, because without these words, your definition will be incomplete. Okay, guys? So, because a tissue is a group of cells and it performs a specific function. So now, we are going to do a small practical and activity to understand about these tissues. So now, you're going to take, you can use a permanent slide or a picture of a muscle tissue like such. This is a picture of 3 types of muscle tissues. Then you will also need a slide with the lower epidermis of a plant leaf. So now you can keep it under a light microscope and identify the cells, and you will be able to see something like this and like this. If you use a compound microscope, you will be able to identify this structure. But if you are using a light microscope, then you can go deep and observe something like the cell that I had shown you earlier. Okay, guys. So now try to do those practicals at school when everything is settled and when you all can. Now let us all see to what type of features these tissues have. Now when you observe these images, you can tell, these tissues have these features. Now we are going to see what are these features. Now then, you can identify that they have the same shaped cells or they have different shaped cells. They either have the same shaped cells or different shaped cells. They all perform a specific function. For an example, if you take muscle tissues, they help with our contraction and relaxation of our muscles. They help us to move. Then when you take something like the intestinal tissues, they help us with the digestion and stuff. When you take cardiac tissues, they help with the heart's function and stuff. It's like that. They perform a common function. Now, different types of tissues are found in living organisms. Cardiac muscle tissue, blood tissue, and lower epidermis tissue of a plant leaf. So now these are some important tissues you all have to remember. So now, as I said earlier, tissues are collection of cells of same shape or different shapes, and they perform one common function. Okay guys, moving on, we are going to identify about organ. Now, a collection of tissues working together to perform a specific function or functions is called an organ. Okay, so a collection of tissues is basically an organ, and this tissue, the collection of tissues working together to perform a particular function, that is what makes an organ. That itself is an organ. Now, stomach is an organ. The heart, it's an organ. The stomach, it's comprised of blood tissues, nerve tissues, muscle tissues, like such. The heart, it's comprised of tissues like the cardiac muscle tissues and many more. So, like I said earlier, it's a collection of tissues that performs a specific function. Okay, a collection of tissues that helps with performing a specific function. Okay, it's basically an organ. Now, we are going to do another activity. So, you're going to basically take a plant with a transparent stem. You take some water and then you take some dye, that is, or some coloring. You all can use anything you like. You put some water to a beaker, put some coloring, soak the plant like balsam in it. Okay, then make sure, I forgot to tell you all this, make sure before you all put the balsam plant that the roots are intact with the plant. Okay guys, because we want the plant to absorb the water, colored water that is. So you put the balsam plant with the roots into the water, and then you let it, absorb some of the water. Then you can take a thin section of the stem and observe it through a light microscope. Okay guys, so try this practical out. It's really interesting, and y'all can see something very beautiful. So when y'all get the chance, please do try this practical as well. Now, when you observe this, you could have seen certain things. You could have noticed something. You could have seen or noticed that the tissue which transports water and minerals, there's a tissue that transports water and minerals. Now that tissue is known as the xylem tissue. And you will also notice that there is a tissue located outside the xylem tissue, and that tissue transports food in the plants. Now that tissue is what's called the phloem tissue. Besides the phloem and the xylem, there are several other tissues in the stem. So now if you did that practical, you will most certainly be able to identify these with your teacher's help. Now, this is a cross-sectional image of a plant stem. Now, over here in the middle, you will get the pith. Here you will get the phloem, which transports all the food, and the xylem over here, which transports water. Now, please try to remember this diagram, for this diagram will be very important even in your O-levels. Okay guys, so now moving on, to get a much clearer understanding, you can simply take a plant leaf using a permanent slide and study the different types of tissues according to this activity. Okay guys, so these are things that you all can't do alone. You all need some guidance from your teachers. So I won't be emphasizing a lot about this, but I'll just give you all some idea about it, because you must try this out with supervision. Otherwise it's somewhat dangerous to handle these equipments alone without supervision, and it will be better if you can have some supervision, so that supervisor can explain it to you live at that moment, so that you all will have a clearer understanding. Okay guys, so now as I said earlier, organ consists of many tissues and they perform a common function or many functions. Moving on, we are going to talk about a system. Now, a group of organs that perform a specific function or functions, of course, is what is known as a system. Now, you have many systems. One such system is the digestive system. It comprises of the following organs: mouth, esophagus, the liver, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine. Okay, guys? You also have things like the respiratory system over here, you can see, and the circulatory system. Yes, like this. It comprises of the lungs, the heart, the veins, the arteries, the kidneys. This is an image of the circulatory system. Now here, this is an image of the respiratory system, and it comprises of the nose, the mouth, the lungs, the trachea, and all those things. So we will be discussing furthermore about these systems in our second video. Okay, so for the moment, remember that a system consists of many organs that perform a common function or many functions. Now you can do another practical by taking a Kuppermania plant. You can observe different organs and the systems of it, and then you can draw a line diagram to identify the organs and the two systems of the plant body. Now, if you did this practical, this is something that you will see. Now, you will see there are fruits, flowers, leaves, stems. Everything that is above the ground level is considered to be the shoot system. The shoot system. Taproots, lateral roots. The roots that are below the ground level, they are the root system. They form the root system. Okay, guys? So, you will notice that the plant has only two systems, the shoot system and the root system. Now then, organism. Now we are almost coming to the end of our part 1. Now, all systems of the body join together and form the body of an organism. So, organism is basically a collection of systems. Okay, guys? Now, for an example, the nervous system, respiratory system, blood circulatory system, muscle system, excretory system, digestive system, reproductive system. All these join together in order to form our body. This body is what makes an organism. This body is basically the organism. Okay, guys? In the same way, plant is also no different. The root system combines with the shoot system to form this organism that is called the plant. So now, with this, we have successfully come to the end of our first part. So I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson, understood some important facts. And if you all have any questions, don't forget to comment it. And again, I will post some links to other YouTube videos that you all can refer to during this time as a substitute for the practicals that you all could have done in the school. But make sure if you get a chance to do it, because they are very interesting practicals. And also, if you enjoyed my videos, like them, subscribe to my channel, and click on the bell icon to receive notifications. Also, don't forget to spread the word about my channel to your friends. Okay, guys? So, hope you all enjoyed my video. So, stay tuned. Until next time. Bye.